the saying, like, we move at the speed of trust. Fucking it up. Can I say fuck?
Yeah, well, you said it.
The question is like, how can you be ambitious without having ambitions?
What was that like, coming back as a team leader?
The intention is always there. There's very little force in you to do things.
I'd like for you to just sum up a little bit about what the program is, the 3-year program. Welcome to everybody who's tuning in. I'm here, Kasper, a student at KP, a second-year student with Federico, one of our team leaders. I'm going to be taking you guys on a little bit of a journey. I'm hoping to learn some about Federico's place at KP and a little bit about what it means to be a team leader and some insights, hopefully. I'm from Sweden myself, and Federico is from northern Italy.
Milan.
Milan. There we go. Even better. Like the pizza.
Yeah, wait.
Okay. I'll play. We just made jokes about it. But, all right. So we're just going to get into it.
Sounds good.
Nice. And one question I have that I want to get us started with is what brought you to be team leader at KP?
Wow. Okay.
Just basics for some background here.
Okay, I'll give you the whole deep background.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I started the education a little bit, and this is a detail. I was 38 years old, or 37 years old
when you
when I
came
started
to school.
KAOSPILOT. Yeah.
Right.
But I really came as a clean slate. Yes. I wasn't that I was very confused, or kind of like lost, I would say.
Yeah.
With a lot of experience, yes, I lived abroad, I lived in many places, but at the same time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
So through the education, I was introduced to, in my case, was social lab, which was a way how do you actually implement to sustain social change. That really spoke to me. And I hope this is a long story.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm just checking some of my notes.
No. Which I didn't quite understand at the time, to be honest. That should maybe speaks also into the pedagogy. But somehow it touched something that meant a lot to me. It was like, how do we actually engage with complex challenges that are seemingly unresolvable, right? So in any case, I dove super deep into it for the remainder of my education. So I was introduced to that in third semester, which was Outpost, and I worked with it third semester, fourth semester, fifth semester, sixth semester. Pilot project beyond that. So I've pretty much been working with that since, my second year at KP.
Yeah.
And
can I ask him to that a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm curious.
Yeah, sorry. Otherwise I can go on for 6 hours.
Which is fine. That's what we're here for, to hear you, right? So I'd like to ask into that experience of finding something that was really interesting to you, that kind of hit your buttons.
Yeah.
Was that the experience for a lot of other people? What was it like for you at that time to find that? Was it really common? Did it change anything with regard to your teammates? Were they also passionate about the same things? Can you say some words on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it varied quite a lot. It was very different for different people. I think for some really sparked curiosity, right? Because at that point we really got introduced to high level stuff, so it was difficult to see it tangibly into practice. But it definitely touched on a lot of things that we're engaged with. So how do you solve, or how do you engage with global challenges? How do you engage people? And actually one of the things that, for me at least, and some of the people that I've been working with, and actually one of my teammates which worked with me, Tessa, by the way, amazing human being. Beyond that is how it called on so many of the skills and tools and knowledge and experiences that we've been taught so far, but also spoke into actually how do you bring change and how do you sustain change. That's a difficult one. Yeah. Everybody can mess things up, but how do you actually sustain it beyond? Spoke into that, I think for some people it really meant a lot, and I know that for just as many people didn't quite land or didn't mean that much, right?
Sure.
And for me, and maybe also for some of my teammates, what really made a difference was diving deep into it and really doing the work and inquiring and be curious and read a lot and experience a lot and try it out and fucking it up. Can I say fucking up?
Yeah, you said it. So
well, the point fucking it up. That's number 3.
Yeah,
just like feeling and understand and learning through that, right? And trying to explain to people what is it and what are you doing and how is it and what is the value and the impact that you're bringing with that, and just like continuously going through this iterative experience of doing it, failing, learn it, do it again, fail it, learn it, do it again, fail it, learn it.
Yeah. So given the fact that you originally studied at the school, you were a student yourself, what was that like coming back as a team leader or a class leader then?
So even that, also that is quite serendipitous, because I was in Oris almost randomly, in a sense, because I had some things that were finishing, the projects that were finishing, and we were like, okay, where do we go next? We had some options, but we're unsure. And then Corona came, and so we're like, okay, maybe we should just stay put and see what emerges from this.
Yeah.
And then one day I got a call and like, hey, would you mind subbing for one of the team leaders who's got hurt and can't be here? And it was actually the systemic leader. Yes, the systemic leadership semester, right? So it was kind of like my jam.
It's your stuff.
Yes, and I love it, and it's great, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, no problem.
Yeah.
So we did the semester together, and the idea was like, at the end of this semester, I'll just move on or whatever, move to Hamburg or Barcelona. I would like to move to Barcelona. But, and after that, it kind of came like, hey, why don't you stay? Would you like to stay?
Yeah.
And I said, yes. And the reason why I said yes is honestly because I believe, first of all, I like KAOSPILOT. I love it. And it is also part of my legacy, right? Or like my background. On the other is because I do truly believe that we are, I'm not saying so I've alluded, but
Tell them, yeah, let's go.
yeah, I'll go. Shall we go deep?
Yeah,
Is it time to go deep?
Hit it.
All right,
Yeah,
go
why
deep.
not?
Where are we in, the world, society? It's like we need such a deep, profound change on every level, almost seemingly, right? And in my experience, in my opinion, KAOSPILOT has that potential that holds, fosters that space in which we can really shift the way we are, who we are, how we are together, what kind of future, what kind of society, what kind of everything we want, and how do we create that together?
Beautiful.
Thanks.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the reason why I'm also passionate about like yes, this systemic way of going about, if you want, but also like how do we relate to each other? How do we actually foster and hold a space in which we can move away from this competing visions of the future, right? And collectively engage in imagining a future in which we can together move towards, right?
Yeah.
One that respects and engages with all human beings and living beings and the planet, and something that doesn't mean, something that truly requires like a deep transformation.
Yeah.
Sorry. So that's
beautiful.
That's
I could relate to that myself.
right on.
Yeah. So in terms of like the magnetizing effect that KAOSPILOT clearly had on you, what in that effect, could you name some factors in that? Like what was it in that?
as a student or as a...
Well, I'm hearing it both. I'm hearing it occur, right? Because in two moments of your life where you didn't really know what happened or what you were going to do, it sounds like KP had this force in bringing you to it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about that because it sounds very powerful in your life.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. Well, certainly when I was introduced as a student into like systems thinking and complexity theory and working with, or facilitate diverse groups of people and understanding that, differences, tensions is actually a fantastic gift that we get. And how we can actually use that and work with that and welcome it as a way of seeing, of bringing in pluralized opinions, pluralized visions, and pluralization in general, right? Super generative. That for me was the first, if it's like a first, click, like a safe kind of thing.
You kind of feel it in the wall, kind of like this is right.
Yes, exactly. It was starting to shift something in me, first of all.
Got it. Yeah.
I guess maybe it was a bit subconscious, but then I also, started reading about that. But it was that transformation needed to start from me.
Yeah.
So how do I actually transform myself? How do I engage with that? How do I change my mindset, align my vision, beliefs, knowledge, experience, and the way I engage with people and the way I feel about things and how I welcome differences and all this stuff, right? So that needed to change, first of all, in me. And when that happened, it was like a massive revelation. It was just oh my God.
More about it.
It's just, I don't want to sound preachy or weird, but
all good, yeah.
We grow up, we are conditioned for so many years, right? By education, by society, by our parents. Love you, mom and dad, by the way. Well, they don't speak English, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. Tamil or something like that.
But wherever we grow up, we're conditioned in so many ways, right? In so many ways, there are in such strident, how do you say, dichotomous difference, but with who we are as human beings, on a biological level, as living beings, right? The question that landed on me, but how do we break away from that? How do we actually break away from the shackles, from this you can call it whatever, colonized minds, whatever you want to call it, right? That we've been dragging for hundreds, maybe probably thousands and beyond years, and actually engage with or envision completely different ways of being together. How do we let go of what we learn in school, of productivity, of being efficient, of knowing the right answer, of there's finite resources in the world, so if you have more, it means that I have less. This kind of, small and medium or big things, right? They have such a massive impact on the way that we relate to each other.
Yeah, adds up.
It really does, right? And so everything becomes either a negotiation or, my way, the future that I want is different and better or whatever of your future. So we, if you say something, then if you want it. So it's really, how do we let go of all this? How do we let go of even the fact that actually is I think is imbued in the pedagogy again, of the whole idea of the banking system of education,
seeing banking.
Yeah, it's a concept. It's a concept of kids, young beings are empty vessels that need to be filled with knowledge.
Oh yeah.
So even then, how do we break away from that and actually bring this, flurry of knowledge experiences together, and we create a new reality.
Yeah, I like that word, flurry. Yeah, that's a wonderful guy. Yeah, like a flurry scoop or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But in my experience, KP is very much like that as well.
Yeah.
That there's a lot going on. People go in very many different directions. There's a multiplicity, I suppose. So I want to bring us back a little bit.
Sure.
To something you mentioned before, which was about the systems thinking.
Yeah.
When it really struck a chord in you, it sounded like somebody was asking the right questions and in an exciting way, and saying like, this is the direction we need to go with these questions, and you kind of like grabbed that and got really excited. Does that sound similar?
On a level.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Because what I want to ask upon that in that case is, do you feel like KP has given you, either as a student or as an alumni, what has it been like to navigate answering those questions? And I also want to be hesitant here with the disclaimer, like I'm trying to move away a bit from having to always have an answer, that sometimes a valuable question gives more value than a closing down answer.
For sure.
I suppose if systems thinking allowed you to make questions in a new way, what have been any, if there are any, answers to any of those questions of what education pedagogy should look like, or what can we learn,
For sure.
Yeah.
So I would say that system thinking for me made maybe I would say as a musician, right? I'm a bass player.
Right.
So as a bass player, you always like wherever you're playing, wherever you're on stage or something, you have this bit of a limp here, but you bring that systemic mindset of what is going on stage, right? Because you're kind of keeping it together, if you want.
Right.
As glue. So I always play bass. So I guess there was something there that maybe I couldn't really put a finger on. And system thinking maybe brought a little bit of that. It's like put some theory or knowledge or understanding. It's like, oh, okay, so it actually exists. It's a real thing, and it's valid in music as it is, like right here, right now. So what is interaction? What happens in the space between us? What happens if one thing's moved there or something changes there? So it was like putting an understanding on the interaction of things and the patterns, the relationships, and the effects of things. So that was a bit of a thing. And in terms of like being invited in that space of exploration, which maybe is what you're saying, like with the questions, right? Is like and even now as a team leader, actually, if I have to bring it here, right?
Yeah,
in my daily experience, it is about actually open that space of exploration, a space of inquiry, right? Now I would say, like as a team leader, I see myself, or I would love to see myself as a midwife, right? So I'm not here to tell what is right, what is wrong, or I'm not here to ensure that you necessarily become X, Y, Z. But how can I hold that space of transformation from, babe, I shouldn't have gone this deep, but like ensuring that the source thrives, and what emerges and transforms into a human being also thrives.
Okay, and when you say the source, what do you mean then?
Well, in this case, the mall, but like whichever. In the example of the midwife, but like to be there to foster the process of transformation and inquiry in this case. Or changing and transforming, like honestly,
a bit like facilitating the process of transformation.
Exactly.
For the students as individuals, and it sounds a bit like for ideas as well.
For sure.
Okay.
And like pushing maybe a little bit, right? So it's
right.
It's not like, oh, you do you and you do whatever, but it's like so it is a bit like birth, if you want. It's not I've always only witnessed it. I never gave birth personally, but it's not a pleasant process, right?
Yeah.
And often, and I think this is a tension in education as well. This process is not necessarily a pleasant one, right? And the process of shifting from secure and safe mindset or spaces of it to be banal, like being told, do a test, is this right or wrong? Is it yes or is it a no? This is what I'm telling you, this is the text, read it all, repeat it like a little parrot, and you pass your exam or whatever it is.
Recite after me.
Like, and like it's an interesting invitation, if you want. Sorry, now I'm going a little bit all over the place, but it's an interesting invitation shifting from an education that, gives you this like very clear parameter and like, just sit down and listen to me and everything, to something that actually invites you to let go of that, which we could see as a process of grieving, if you want. I mean, I would say it is.
Right.
Let go of this safety and let go of this comfortable space that has been created for you, so you can become a productive member of whichever society we would like to have, they would like to have. To, hey, let go of this, enter a space like the stretch zone, right? Which is necessarily uncomfortable because it will touch. It will invite you to shift and change on whichever depth of level you allow it to happen.
Yeah.
And engage with whatever emerges from that. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Oh,
yeah. I think so, yeah.
But it's also very much like one thing that I loved and I like to bring with my team as well is this space of collective ownership and collective responsibility. And I take responsibility. I would like to, again, to shift away from the responsibility like this, you remember, you have to, right? But like, how do we actually collectively take care and foster this space, right? In which people are invited and welcome, and whichever state, whichever vision, even competing ones, can coexist and are accepted. And how do we actually transform that into a space in which we can grow, we can explore, we can fail, we can get distracted, we can be okay and explore together and evolve together and grow together or change together.
So it sounds a little bit like this push you were talking about before. I'm reminded of, at least. And I'm curious a bit about the team leader role.
Yes.
Like, what does that mean to be in that role in terms of the vested interest that you may have in that birth? Like, how do you apply yourself in a way that you think is beneficial? Who do you apply yourself for in that position? Who do you see yourself applying yourself in this education?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
So to me, the role comes with a lot of care. Like I truly care for the students, the education, what are we holding, and it comes with a lot of ambition, if you want, right? And the question is like, how can you be ambitious without having ambitions, right? It really comes to like, how can I actually foster a lot? Let's try a different word. How can I be and engage in a space in which all my students, all the people in my team can actually engage with this process of transformation, right? And growth and finding their sense of direction, connecting or aligning, if you want, their beliefs and values, and how can they feel empowered in a world that continuously tells us that we cannot do anything, cannot change anything, right? To actually have the ability to see global challenges, right? Which is, they are pretty challenging to feel to give you a sense that you can actually make a difference in the world, right?
Yeah.
But the ability to understand and engage global challenges, but yet have also the ability to understand how you can actually engage, make a difference, and start from wherever you are. But that to me is very important. It's the understanding that, hey, look, let's be honest. I have small kids, right? And I often wake up at night. Not that often, because I sleep pretty soundly. But sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, what kind of world are my kids, which are 3 and 7, gonna grow up in, right? Not a good one, it seems.
Oh. Yeah.
So it also comes with the desire for you, right, to be able to stay, to have the knowledge, the skills, the capacity, the internal ability, like all this, to be able to stay in that trouble and accept the messiness and accept the craziness that is going on, and still be able to take care of yourself and take care of the collective and have that awareness and feel empowered and feel that you can actually engage with these global challenges, engage with climate change, engage with social strife, engage new economies, whatever it is. Yeah, just feeling empowered, I guess, in that sense for me, right? So it's not like, hey, how are you productive, or how you do this, or how do you, go out and make a fantastic, awesome fucking product that everybody's gonna. No. How do we see ourselves as fractals and understand, the change that we can bring, accepting that change is always happening.
Sounds like a lot of trust to me. Sounds like a lot of trust that people will develop in a way that does suit the world as well.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm curious about that as well, because I'm hearing that it's a position a bit to enable whatever movement that someone has in the spirit and context and the environment that they're in, their person.
Yeah.
And do you ever think about that tension between perhaps what you would like the school to do for the world and what you feel or think that it does or people are gravitating toward?
Yeah.
Given the circumstance?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So I think it's I maybe he's also speaking a little bit into being ambitious without ambition, right? Because I think that's interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, for sure. And I think on one hand, it's inevitable, right? Because
inevitable
to accept the fact that sometimes our visions, realities, and visions or beliefs or ambitions against there might be some discrepancies with day-to-day things. So, but I would say that to me, at least, it's very important to always strive for that. I truly believe in that. I truly believe in engaging on that level or bringing whatever, because one of the other roles that I have is also bringing the lecturers in or engaging the student in this kind of stuff, which sometimes might be great, sometimes might not be that great.
Yeah.
The intention is always there.
Yeah.
And I would say also when it comes to, and I also tell my student, right, hey, this project might bomb. It might be really, really bad, but it doesn't matter. What is the intention behind that? What is the kind of value? What is the kind of impact you want to bring? What do you want to learn, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say, yes, there has to be a lot of trust. The saying, we move at the speed of trust, right? So I would rather start engaging with the students, and I hope they feel the same way with me, with 100% trust, right? All the time, that we're all there, we're all engaging with a good in mind, right? With life affirming, includes with all goodness on the table. It might go one way or another, but I'd rather engage in that space than a space of mistrust.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
That's a wonderful saying, man.
All right,
we move at the speed of trust. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Which also,
I can relate a lot to it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
About to say.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I can just relate a lot to it. In our team, I think that the team that I'm a part of, I noticed that a lot, where in some environments or some specific tasks, we trust each other a lot.
Yeah.
And whenever it clicks like that, it seems as if things fall in place almost otherworldly. an event we'll throw on super short notice, and it'll just go really, really well.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the key terms that we have in our team is that trust.
Yeah.
So yeah, go on.
No, I would say which is deceiving, right? Again, it's that's the other interesting aspect of how do we, like, if we want to again go back to the transformation, but also how do we engage with these words or these beliefs that we're given for granted and we give for granted, right? What does it mean to trust each other? What when we talk about this, or how, which is also an interesting aspect of, for me at least, of my experience at KAOSPILOT, and what I would love to, and I love to engage the students as well, is like, how do we actually redefine how we are together on a collective level?
Is a bit about what do we want to see? That image is very different from person to person.
Yes.
And sometimes I wonder a little bit about who in our environment, where we work a lot with breaking that down to preconceived notions. Like, what do we come in the room with that we want to leave behind?
Yeah.
Sure. A lot of us agree on many things, whether it's anti-capitalist notions or, win-win-win mentalities. A lot of it brings good in our own eyes. And then the question really comes down to, like, where do we see the benefit come from as well? So on a more concrete note, to wrap it up a little bit now, I'm curious.
Oh, really?
Regrettably.
No.
That's how it works.
Oh, yeah.
You got to go save the world.
Yeah, that's
Can't spend all day in a podcast booth. But I'd like for you to just sum up a little bit about what the program is, the 3-year program. In shorter terms, well, how would you describe it?
How short?
No. Let's say about 3 minutes worth.
Oh, no. Okay.
Let's put it that way.
I will end up repeating myself a little bit, but I really, I often repeat myself anyway, so it's okay. I would define it as a transformational process, as a transformational program, if you want, which hits on many levels. So how do we... Yes, there's like the skills, the abilities, the knowledge level, but there's also like, how are we as a collective? How do we engage with each other on a collective level, both in learning and doing? And who are we as individuals, right? How do we engage within this transformation? And as an education, it does give you, again, the skills, the knowledge, the abilities to engage into this transformational process, collective, personal, etc. But also, how do you take this out in the world? And as we were saying before, how to sustain those. Everybody's able to bring change and mess things up, right? But how do you actually sustain them and create value for others, for other people, for the environment? There's very little force in you to do things, right? So I actually really like, which is also extremely challenging, that aspect of take lead of your own education and take lead or take responsibility, again, with awareness of how challenging and confusing the word responsibility might be, of how much do you engage with this process of unlearning and relearning.
Yeah,
I would say. And I personally love that.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Well said.
Yeah, thanks.
Well said. Well phrased. And I'm going to thank you for coming in today.
Yeah, I hope I made some sense.
I'm sure you did. I may have to listen to it over a couple times.
Me too.
We're going to let it soak in, but that's all right.
All right.
Sometimes that's what you need. And thank the administration for a wonderful opportunity to chat.
All right. Thanks.
And appreciate it. Maybe we can continue it.
I would love that.
Cool.
Yes.
All right. It's a wrap.